Good afternoon. This is a Black Kids and Outer Space show. I am very excited today because I have Imani Henry, and Imani Henry is the founder and lead organizer for Equality for Flatbush. Equality for Flatbush is a people of color, multinational grassroots organization that does anti-police repression, affordable housing, anti-gentrification, organizing in the Flatbush, East Flatbush, and Brooklyn-wide. In 2014, um, in 2014, Equality for Flatbush launched its Brooklyn-wide anti-displacement project, Before It's Gone, Take It Back. Documenting Brooklyn fighting gentrification, Equality for Flatbush is also convening organization of the Brooklyn Anti-gentrification Network. The thing I have to ask Imani is a lot of people, you have a lot of skills. You could easily become one of the kind of gentrifiers or one of the people who are oppressing people. What made you kind of go, I'm not going to just accept this as how it is?
I'm sorry. The question is this about me personally or about the?
It's about you personally. We're going to do personal and then we'll ask about the organization. But why did you personally kind of go, hey, this is something that we can actually, displacement is something we could actually fight against? Because a lot of people would just kind of accept it as well, this is how it is. I'll just take my degree and do what I want.
Well, I think the piece. Well, I've lived in my neighborhood. I think it's who you are, depending on who you are. So one, I think just to be very transparent, I'm a working class Caribbean person. Flatbush is an enclave of, it's the largest enclave of Haitian people outside of Haiti. I think we're larger than even the population in Miami. We are one of the largest enclaves of Caribbean people in general. We have a
Mm-hmm.
large Desi South Asian community, large Latinx, and want to be clear, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans have been living in Flatbush for a long time. As long and I want to be, clear in the context of what do we hold dear about having enclaves of community, and we want to see that. That's why Flatbush is famous. It's famous because of the Caribbean Day Parade. It's famous because um, of we could talk about the Flatbush zombies or whoever we want to talk about that. This
Mm-hmm.
this is this is a place that Black culture, Caribbean culture, migrant culture is living and breathing. And do we want to preserve that? Do we want to keep that? I'm a working class person. I have moved to New York with like $200 to my name in 1993. And, I've moved everywhere. I've been homeless, in different points in my life, or sleeping on people's couches, floors, whatever. And, I moved here to Flatbush in 2002, and it's the longest, most consistent amount of I've been. And even with that, I've moved 5 to 6 times myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been forced, even last year, forced out of an apartment. I've been to do this project. I was displaced for a year and a half from this neighborhood. Even I thought, I thought, again, with 2 master's degrees, I thought like I might be, someone that a landlord might want, to rent to. But I am still like a Black person living and breathing in the United States, and racism is real. Gentrification is white supremacy. They're not trying to make Black and brown cities. In fact, we can talk about statistically, and in New York, Harlem, Bedford-Stuyvesant is losing
Mm-hmm.
its Black population. That is a statistical fact. Bushwick, Williamsburg is losing its Latinx population. That's a historical, statistical fact. That's what's happening with gentrification. They're making whiter, more affluent cities, and that's global. That's a global situation, So let alone that we're already on stolen land. The
Mm-hmm.
history of the United States is about, genocidal violence. It's about usurping and theft of land, and then we can go and swing back and talk about modern day gentrification happening, where it's still an understood thing that we're now going to steal the land. Historically low to middle income communities of color are being displaced, our history, our culture. So yeah, no, who wants to sit by and let that happen?
Mm-hmm.
I personally didn't have the luxury of that because as a Black person living in my neighborhood, I couldn't even find a place to live. You know,
That I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really kind of shocking about the not shocking, but what is Equality for Flatbush and what is the Brooklyn Anti-gentrification Network? I don't think people understand like how they're just actively pushing like Black and brown people out of the community and people in immigrant communities out of Brooklyn, out of New York.
Well, Equality for Flatbush started in 2013 specifically because there was an uptick in, um, you know, tenant harassment and police violence. We have had 5 police murders or shootings of unarmed Black people in Flatbush and East Flatbush since
Mm-hmm.
2012, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We can document that in New York City and around the country, gentrifying neighborhoods had higher increase of police presence, and we can talk specifically that Crown Heights, Bedford Stuyvesant, Flatbush, East Harlem. We can start naming the names Harlem, where
Mm-hmm.
there become more police presence in neighborhoods that were starting to gentrify or rapidly gentrify. um, we can and that's like, kind of our beginnings is really looking at that there was, more, violence, whether it be the violence of displacement and tenant harassment. When we first started, I got a lot of calls. I'm a social worker. Got a lot of calls from social
Mm-hmm.
workers like that worked. I remember a sister that worked at a hospital talking about trying to figure out. She's working with mostly like elders, folks with mental health issues, physical health issues that are like they were the first, like
Mm-hmm.
folks that are being attacked in rent stabilized housing. Where she's like, I'm trying to find a place for them in Ithaca, New York, to move them out. And even I want to be clear, even something that's been so powerful, you know, we support people in Queens. Like we've done actions and supported and fought for people in Queens. Why? Because they were displaced from Brooklyn. And just because, for instance, say you are a South Asian person that is used to Newkirk Plaza in Flatbush, and that's your neighborhood, and you move to Jackson Heights, Queens, and that might be full of Desi people. For you, that might be like, but it's not the same. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that's like we had people displaced from Bushwick move to Queens, and you might be like, oh, you're Spanish speaking, you're a Latinx person, this is fine. And they're like, it is not Bushwick, it is not my home. So to think that an elder, a person with a mental health condition, a family would have to move to Long Island or Staten Island or Ithaca and be
Mm-hmm.
displaced from what they know, where their community is, where their loved ones are, is really horrible. One of the first neighborhoods Williamsburg had that is really it's a cautionary tale in Williamsburg about the level of gentrification. I mean, one of the things I remember in 2014, one of the things that they started to do is have forums at the school, in the school program, like in the school department would sponsor like forums for community members what to do around gentrification because now grandma can't pick you up because grandma is no longer in the neighborhood. How it impacts when you're no longer the majority. Latinx folks, working class folks are no longer the majority in your school. And you're used to like a neighborhood and a community that affirms you. And now you're seeing more people that don't look like you or don't have the economically more advantage than you are moving into your neighborhood. Or even something as simple, grandma can't pick me up because grandma needs to now it's going to take 2 buses for her to get to me
Mm-hmm.
because
Well,
she
I
can't
know.
live in the neighborhood anymore.
Well, I noticed one thing that Equality for Flatbush does, in addition to affordable housing, anti-gentrification, you do police accountability. And is that because of the violence you saw happening? It's kind of like, oh, we want you to get out of here, and we're going to physically use our police force, our security to do it. Is this why it's so connected?
It's so connected. So we organize tenant associations. We also fight for dollar van drivers in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are also tenants that live or homeowners in our community. These are particularly Black men that are, own and operate transportation that's essential to our neighborhood. We don't have enough public transportation to take care of ourselves, to really do what we need to do in our community. So these van systems have been created. Now they're all over New York. There are other van lines, other van routes in our community, but the ones in Flatbush are easily like the most policed, and that's what we're seeing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about street vendors in our neighborhood. That in 2016 there was an uptick, and again, these are people that live in my neighborhood. In fact, the street vendors that are the leadership of our group are like literally my neighbors. Like we live next door to each other, kind of thing. And and here they are getting $2,000 for serving a churro or icy. Sorry.
You know,
So
and also too, you do this. You have nine. You have you do a you're organizing a no eviction zone. You have nine neighborhoods: Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Clinton Hill, Bushwick, Crown Heights, East Flatbush, East New York, Flatbush, Park Slope, Prospect Heights, and Sunset Park. Why'd you choose those nine neighborhoods for no eviction zones?
well, we didn't choose the neighborhoods. It's
Okay.
no. I want to be really transparent. It's
Yeah.
because people in those neighborhoods have called us and said we need some support. We're a grassroots group.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you in all honesty, I had no idea in 2013, 2014, when we started B4G, that it was important that it wasn't just it was Brooklyn wide, because we uncovered like black women homeowners in Bed-Stuy where house flippers are buying property next to them and purposely damaging their property, in
Mm-hmm.
order that for that homeowner to then sell to them. And we say we uncovered it more, that we exposed those landlords, those house flippers, those predators that are doing that. And if we weren't a Brooklyn wide um, project, we wouldn't have even known. We have fought for two trans actually activists in Sunset Park who were physically attacked by their landlord. And again, we if we weren't a Brooklyn wide project, we wouldn't be there to have demonstrations to get legal support. I mean, if we weren't Brooklyn wide, we wouldn't be able. We had elders in Brighton Beach that we supported to get.
Mm-hmm.
They were living like in like incredible conditions. I'm talking about like using utility lights that you see on a work site in their kitchen. Like their floors rotten out. The hole so big that you could see upstairs into the next bathtub. You could see the bathtub of the people upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And within 3 days of a direct action, that everything, contractors are there, things were fixed. I mean, and so that's what I mean. Again, like and again, like what I talked about, even working with people in Queens, because displacement is like is citywide, and we want to support. And in the same way, I want to be clear: we stand up for the people in East Harlem. When they have a rezoning struggle, we're there with our
Mm-hmm.
we're there shutting down the community meeting. For the folks, we support the folks in the South Bronx. We have lovely family, and they come when we have a real estate summit in the middle of Crown Heights. They're there at the Brooklyn Museum with us from all over the city. And
And
then,
I have another question too.
sure,
You want to you guys work with the movement to protect the people,
yeah,
or MTOPP,
and,
against the upzoning of Empire Boulevard. Can you give us a little information about that?
so Empire Boulevard is a corridor that basically creates Prospect Park and the Botanical Gardens, and it's sort of the gateway into Flatbush, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
want to put luxury developments. They want to build hotels. The park is right there. We're in a struggle right now to stop them from actually building a towered building next to the Botanical Gardens, which will clearly kill this like globally iconed, place that we hold dear. And so, Movement of Protected People, which is a black woman-led, they're mostly homeowners, that are like, and this is beautiful because a lot of times they try to divide and conquer homeowners versus tenants. And
Mm-hmm.
these are black women homeowners and white women homeowners that are fighting to say no upzoning, because usually what they want to do, right, is they promise the homeowners on their side streets, you know what? We won't build any construction if you give off the big boulevards like Empire Boulevard. And a lot of people have been fooled by that. So we're in fighting in East Flatbush or rezoning that's like that. They go over the homeowners. They say rezoning is the right way. We say no. Rezoning means that luxury towers get built. That means, so for instance, luxury towers are that with an 80-20 split. 20% goes to affordable, so-called, and 80% becomes luxury. And one of the pieces of this is that we're clear is, so one, our average minimum income of our neighborhood is like under 39. If they want people that make $75,000 a year to get that quote unquote affordable, they might go down and say like it's 40,000, but the average family is still good, making only 35 or something. 25% of the families in New York City make under $25,000 a year, and they're not even in the mayor's plan. They end up in the shelter system. So what is the worth of MIH housing and luxury in this 80-20 split in neighborhoods? And I want to be clear, it's still majority luxury. It's 80% luxury. It's bringing in. It is literally bringing in the whitening, the economic disparities within our neighborhood. It's saying, come in, rich white people, come on in. Let's turn this enclave of like migrant folks of color into like a bastion for the rich, and there we'll give you 20% of the housing if you can afford it. We'll give you
And you,
20%.
and you'll be gone. I mean, and what are some techniques? What are you guys doing? I know that you guys are having a campaign to get to lawyers to support you in your work. Which what campaigns or what solution? I mean, we don't have that much time, but what solutions
What
campaigns?
are
What can we do to fix it?
well, I'm so sorry. I'm technically not air. Maybe I'm in the shot now. Well, so what do? We do provide we are a tiny little group, and we provide legal services, and have won multiple cases for tenants. And again, a lot of the legal nonprofits are have do not support our people, have not have turned down cases. There's a cherry picking that's happening, and people that are legal nonprofits that said no, we're not going to represent. We've gone to court and won for them. We we shut things down. I mean, we don't negotiate. Why we say get out of our neighborhood. The city planning wants to come in and rezone this or wants to build a high rise there. We say get out, leave. No one asked for our neighborhood to be rezoned. We were sitting lovely before you got here. Why does it have to be? Why can the only affordable housing that you're building have to include luxury? We've had thousands of other projects happen in the city without luxury development. Why do we need that? Because the whole point is you're pushing us out.
And
We create tenant associations. That's a huge thing. We now have tenant congresses that the same landlord, we have 3 or 4 or 5 of their buildings. We have tenants on rent strike. We love Grand Putnam Tenant Association on rent strike. We're supporting and fighting for them. And again, same thing. We, with our vendor campaign, was able to actually bring vendors back to the block that were afraid of being ticketed. I can say right now, as of the end of 2017, and right now as I pass my block now, the vendors are back out because we were able to fight the police department, fight the business improvement district, the bid. We met with the city and said, no, we can't keep, we don't want our people to be harassed by the police and racially profiled. And those are the things that we do. We fight and support the families impacted by police violence. We produce videos for Chantel Davis's family. So there's now an educational video about Hoops for Justice, and we fundraise for their annual beautiful, amazing basketball tournament that honors Kamani Gray and Chantel Davis. We work with merchant associations in our neighborhood, largely Caribbean, led, merchant association. Do a video for them, feature their businesses, say shop locally, shop, these folks that have been in our neighborhood 30, 40 years, or even the new folks that are just trying to feed their families, shop and support these businesses. Because again, around every high-rise tower, the small businesses suffer, the tenants suffer, the homeowners suffer, and we can document and prove that. It's incredible. There's lack of foot traffic in places that used to be populated with lots of shoppers. They start closing those small businesses. The landlords would want $9,000 for rent that no small business owner can afford. We provide free legal services for small businesses, and we've been able to save 5 small businesses, particularly Black-owned businesses, in the last 2 years. For either fundraising or direct action. How do you get a new lease? When the court orders you to vacate, you fight. You have rallies. You have petition campaigns. You shame the landlord. What we do, we shame. Lots of shaming. We shame the cops. We shame the landlords, and we hold them accountable. We shame the developers. We hold them accountable. That's been our strategy, and that's how we, for the most part, have been successful. A lot of times we've had ramps built. We've moved people into new apartments. We've gotten fridges and stoves, brand new fridges and stoves, when the landlord refuses to give people going without a stove or a fridge for 5 months, 6 months, turn off the gas on people. We expose these landlords, we fight them, and a lot of times we don't even have to go to court, because if we say the court is, Brooklyn Housing Court was created for landlords to take us to court. We say we're gonna hold the landlord accountable in the court of public opinion. We're gonna hold the cops accountable in the court of public opinion, and that's where we see that we've actually had more success when, and this is really true, when our city council is majority, people of color, but they're pro gentrification, and so
Mm-hmm.
we're just real. And it's really, I mean, I'm even gonna say it. There's even community boards that started giving out our name number, because the truth of the matter is, not like, we're effective because the stakes are so high. We can't lose. It's not
Mm-hmm.
up for discussion. It means that we're just that our neighborhoods, the actual like cultural, social, linguistic, economic diversity of our neighborhoods are destroyed if gentrification is allowed to just go run rampant. If we don't stop it, that means that there are no more elders or families or our generations in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn. I do not want the people that are say they are born and bred, Brooklyn, to be only blonde, blue-eyed people whose parents make, $300,000 a year. That's not Brooklyn. That's not what we look like, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
And
And
what?
that's we want generations. When I hear a white elder says that my kids can't even afford to come back to live here, and is concerned about her black and brown neighbors moving away because they were the ones that looked after her, that she's alone in her apartment or in her house, and the people that look after her are the black and brown people. I can attest to that. I know white elders that have lived in Flatbush forever, and they talk about that they were part of a community. And then you have new people moving in that could care. They're busy, like, I don't know, airdropping in whatever their clothes, or they don't leave their houses, like, they shop online. They don't say hello to people. They're not looking in on that elder. And so that even that maybe that white elder might not have thought about racism in the same way, but now she is thinking to herself, "My goodness, if my Caribbean neighbors leave, who's going to have my back? Who's going to be here with me? Because my son and my daughter, my grandchildren live on the West Coast, and
Mm-hmm.
literally can't afford to live in Brooklyn anymore." I've had these discussions. I mean, she said a lot of other things that I didn't like.
Well, what
but,
we know.
but we could agree that she was against gentrification.
Well, what just to wrap it up, what can we do to assist equality for Flatbush, and what can we do to just assist people who are going through this? I know it's
I
kind of a big question.
I think the bottom line is for everyone to think of themselves as an activist. This is the time. I mean, it's like, can you volunteer? Can you give money? We're volunteer run. We don't have an office. We don't have a full time staff. We are like 1,000. We have an army of 1,600 people that volunteer their time. We have 2,000 to 20,000 people online at any given time. How we have saved things is 30 people stand up in the snowstorm in front of a Caribbean bakery and say, no, we don't want it to close. And that's how we win. So if people really think in this moment, this is not the time for us to sit back and think someone else is going to do it. We need every single person to be out and available. Go to the community meetings. Come, if we say shut down a community board meeting, come shut down the community board meeting with us. It's a lot of fun. Come do it. Come to the tenant. Come to join your tenant association meeting. If you have no tenant association meeting, call us. We'll help you create one. You
That's what I
know,
want to know too. I was like, how do you do that? What is that? I'm from Los Angeles. I'm like, what is that?
I mean, and again, you want to talk about Los Angeles. Our family is like defend Boyle Heights,
Mm-hmm.
like all of the different, and so again, we're global. We're our hashtag before it's gone is a global hashtag, and we want people to really think to themselves how we can tell you about who's doing what in Tokyo, because
Mm-hmm.
they're our friends. And so that's the other thing. We have allegiance, and we have 100 groups that are listed with us that we work with in some way, shape, or form, support their work. We hope they support ours in the ways that they can. But it is really that moment, that this is a moment to be an activist. We have a fascist in the White House. We have, and let's just be a white supremacist, fashion, misogynist in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I don't know. I think enough is enough. I think it's okay for people to really think this is the moment. I'm an activist, and that could mean anything. That could be
Mm-hmm.
whether it's on social media, whether that means coming to an event, going to a march, giving some money, volunteering your time in some way, shape, or form, standing out and just asking your church or your mosque to invite an activist to speak, or even something as basic, and I really think this is always important, of just sharing, sign a petition. Sign up. We do petitions so people can sign it around the world. Sign a petition to help somebody. We just had a sister that went to court. She needed $2,000 to pay her rent, and community came through and paid $2,000. That, I mean, like something as simple as that. That people, she needed $2,000, so she would stop an eviction, and people came out and gave her $2,000. We don't need to know everybody, but that she's our family, and that's how we should be. That's our sister. I don't need to. I just met her, but I got $10 for you. Someone else had $1,000 for her. Whatever they could do, and they stopped an eviction. So I'm just saying, like, it doesn't. We don't have to, like, I know we don't. A lot of us don't have a lot of time, but you can hit click, and sign a petition. We send that to a landlord, and landlord goes like, "Oh my goodness, people in Utah care about people in Brooklyn." Yes, they do.
I mean, I have to say thank you so much, Imani, for doing all the work that you do, across all kinds of boundaries in regards to like the nation and the generation. You do important work. And that's how I found you. I found you like doing your work online. I was like, oh, I need to have Imani on the show. I tracked you down.
Fine.
So,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much for the work that you do. And what we're going to do is we're going to put down your link and all the information underneath the video once we archive it. So thank you so much for coming on the Black Kids in Outer Space show.
Thank you so much, Lark. I appreciate it so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Peace. Bye.
Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Urban planning, walking, bicycling, and more in our space.